Hello friends, Mandar here. I'm back with another video. In my last video, I had mentioned some of the things that you can do to fulfill your American dream as soon as you are out of the worries of your green card. So in this video, I'm going to talk about rentals, how you can make some extra income in rentals, what are the advantages, what are the pitfalls, what are the tax implications, and how you can save almost all the tax for the rental property. So if you're interested in this topic, watch this video until the end and let's get started. Just to mention that I'm not a tax consultant either and neither an immigration lawyer, but I do have interest in a lot of subjects that I would like to share with my viewers, and rentals is one of them. In my last video, I had mentioned once you get out of this green card wait saga and once you have it in hand, you can then redistribute your mind into some productive thinking, such as how do you make extra income, how do you switch things around so that you can have a better quality of life. I propose some of the things such as investments, rentals, having cryptos and things like that, and I'm going to make special topics on each one of them. Now, rental is a consistent theme that I got as a feedback from my viewers on my channel as well as in my emails. So here it is. So if you do rental in a right way, you have a better chance of saving some taxes. So what I mean by that is rental income that you get, you can avoid almost entirely paying any taxes on it. Because here's the thing, the United States tax codes were written with entrepreneurs in mind. They wanted entrepreneurs to be successful, they wanted them to invest in the economy and also make money for themselves. So when you file your taxes for rentals, there are a lot of opportunities where you can save or make some deductions or do write-offs, and that way you can avoid paying any extra tax. So we'll come to the taxes portion in a moment, but let's look at why rental. If you have some interest in buying real estate, or if you have experience buying a real estate, this might be for you. Basically, you should have some knowledge in this area, you should have some capital or some savings that you can set aside to invest, and you should have some interest, genuine interest I mean. And if you do it correctly, it could set you as a passive income that you can earn while doing your day job as well. And if you are doing it as a passive income, you could also do it on a visa because that allows you to earn extra income without having to work for it. So investment, real estate could fall into that category, but you have to be careful. If you start expanding your rental business, say for instance, instead of 1 or 2 properties, now you have 10 properties. Now you have an office and you are actively working on tenants and tenant agreements and renewing the contracts and things like that, then that means you are working. And if you are on a visa such as H1B, that will not allow you to do such kind of work outside of your sponsored H1B visa. So you have to be careful there. But if you have a green card or if you have this as a passive income, then you can do it while on H1 or after you get a green card. Now let's look at some of the key factors that you need to consider before buying a rental property. Say for instance, location is the biggest factor when you buy a rental property. You want to make sure that it's in a location where there are a lot of newcomers into the city for the purpose of university, for the purpose of job, who are looking for a rental property to stay in, either for residence or starting their own business. In terms of location, there are other things as well you might want to consider. You might want to do a rental in a place where there is a lot of rental churn, in the sense there is a lot of activity in the rental market, such as you don't want to buy something in a place where there is stagnancy, there are no capital investments, there are no universities, there are no factories, or there are no companies. In such a place, a rental market might not be that good of an investment. So location is very important. Now the second point on the location is, depending on whether it's residential property or whether it's a commercial property, you might want to work with a commercial real estate agent because they know exactly where a commercial property should be bought. Say for instance, if it's for a service or if it's for a restaurant, there are specific considerations that you have to go through before buying a rental property for commercial. So make sure that is taken care. Another thing is return on investment. Now you are buying a rental property so that you can gain some income out of it. So return on investment is very crucial. What do I mean by ROI? Is the net profit that you will get from your investment. You should get some percentage back as ROI. Say for instance, in my book, a good ROI is anything beyond 10%. So to achieve this, you have to make some calculations. Basically, it takes into account how much is your net profit. So basically, the rent that you give, that is the total amount that you will get from the tenant. But now you have to deduct a lot of things from it. You have to deduct your loan if there are loan commitments. You have to deduct all the expenses, all the taxes and insurance and anything else that you put in as an expense that should be deducted from the rent that you get, and the net amount is your profit. So that's where you calculate your ROI. If not done properly, you could be losing money on the rental too. So you have to be careful about ROI part of it. So depending on that, I put my investment. So basically, what you put in as an equity or as a down payment matters, because then you have less payments to make on a mortgage if you have a mortgage. If you pay it off in cash, you have to be careful. You don't want to put in 100% cash in a rental property if the return is less than 10%. Say for instance, it's just 5%. It won't be a wise investment in that particular situation, because sometimes getting a credit or a loan might be at a very low percentage, and the yield that you get on your investment might not be that high. So you have to kind of balance out your loan commitments and your ROI to see what makes sense for you. Work with a tax consultant to figure out what works for you. Another thing to remember is you will need to pay for insurance if the area is in the zone that is for flood or hurricane or earthquake. You might want to have those riders added to your insurance, so your insurance cost may go up. So that is something to consider as well when you select a location for your rental property. I also talked about location. Here are some additional tips. You don't want to buy a rental property in the middle of nowhere in a small county that has nothing going on. You want to have a rental property where it's close to public transportations, close to highway, close to something happening like a university or a technology park or something like that, where people are coming and going and they might be interested in renting properties. The area where you buy the rental property should be accessible to you. So say for instance, you are living in a community that is very far from your rental property, then you will be spending a lot of money in travel. Now all of the travel and expense can be written off in the taxes, but it is a hassle for you sometimes. And one of the most important thing is tenant. You need to have a very good tenant. So when you select the tenant, make sure you check their background. You make sure that you have a proper rental agreement with them. It has to have all the clauses that you want. You can hire a professional to review the rental agreement before you sign it, because once you sign it, you are stuck in it and then you have to deal with it. So make sure your rental agreement is very clear, and then the tenants are vetted in the sense that they are background checked and things like that. Now, since the property is rental, another thing to note is whenever you buy an insurance or riders on it, you need to mention that it's a rental property, because the premiums are different. And if there is a claim, then that thing might pop up, because if you claim to be living there as a primary residence, then your claim may be rejected if it's really a rental property. So be careful on that part. Another thing about insurance is make sure that tenant has an insurance for their belongings and their tenant coverage. Whatever there should be a bare minimum that you should demand that tenant have as an insurance that is paid by themselves. Regular walkthroughs of your rental property is necessary. In my books, I do a 6 months regular walkthrough to the rental properties. That is just to cover yourself so that you're not surprised in the end, at the end of the rental period about some damages done to your property. So that, and it also helps you kind of build that relationship with the tenant and keep in touch. At the same time, you don't want to intrude on them every so often. That would be going too far as well. Another aspect of rentals is you might want to consider doing an LLC, which is limited liability corporation or a corporation. Work with a tax consultant what makes sense for you. Having a LLC definitely benefits. It has its pros and cons depending on how much of a scope of your rental is. If it's just a 1 home or 2 homes, you might be able to get away with just including it in your personal taxes. But if you have more than that, you might want to consider LLC. Remember, when you file an LLC, there are tax obligations, there are documentary obligations that are due every quarter, and you have to pay your business taxes on a quarterly basis. So those are the other things that you might want to consider before doing an LLC for rentals. And then the last point on this, hire a good accountant, because as I said at the beginning of this video, rental income can be completely devoid of paying any taxes. So if you do it correctly, you may not have to pay any taxes on your rental income. Now, what are the tax obligations? Obviously, you are getting a rent as an income, so you are obligated to file it on your Schedule E as tax return for the tax return purpose. Now, there are incomes. So if you have, say, 2 properties or 3 properties, you will add up all those incomes as the rent that you are getting. That will be your income for the rent. Now, there are expenses in 3 categories. The first category is what we call expense. The second is maintenance, and then the third is improvements. So expense is something that is break fix. So basically, if the roof starts leaking, that could be a break fix. If something breaks, or there is a tile or there is a flooring issue that breaks and you need to fix it, that's an expense, and you can claim that expense as a deduction on your tax return. Then there is a maintenance. The regular maintenance, such as lawn service, such as pest control, or you have security system, those could be termed as maintenance expenses, and those have a separate category in Schedule E on your tax return. And then the third is improvements. This is actually the capital investment that you do to improve a home. Now, this improvement can also be charged because it's a capital expense. You could claim depreciation on this expense. So the depreciation, depending on the value of the capital expense in the improvement, say for instance you upgraded the roof because it was growing older, that could be an improvement, or you added a patio, or you added an area for work, or something like that. So that could be an improvement to the home, and you could have depreciation claim on your tax return. So depreciation claim can be made up to 15 years, but you can also claim it as lump sum in your first year itself. So work with an accountant on that. Other expenses such as travel expenses, if your rental property is in another town or city, you'll be flying there or using your vehicle, so you can claim those miles or your flight tickets. Also, while you are there, if you have food expenses, staying expenses, you can claim them as well on your tax returns. Those will be deductions. Another thing is, if you have a big scope of your rentals, say for instance you have 10 rental properties, now you are actually working in that significantly, you are putting significant efforts in it. So you may have a home office where you have a room which has a door and you treat it as a home office. You can claim that as well on your tax returns. Remember, insurance and the interest payments on your rentals are also tax deductibles. So there are lots of benefits of owning the rental property. So I hope I was able to cover the most important points of going through what are the advantages, pitfalls, and what are the considerations that need to be given before owning any rental property. I'll be making subsequent videos on other investment ideas. So subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, so that you get notifications on those as well. Coming back to one of the immigration related questions, Charlie did mention in the last video that there will be 290,000 visas available for the next fiscal year, which starts in October of 2022. That is a very big number that he has given us, 290,000, which means that there will be 150,000 more visas that will be spilled over from family-based category into employment-based category. I have some theory around where these numbers are coming from. There is a huge backlog of immigrant visas at the consulates. So basically it's close to 180,000 visas that are pending as backlog, and they are processing at the speed of around 22 to 23,000 visas every month since May of this year. So there's going to be another around 90,000 visas used up by the end of the year. So my guess is Charlie is taking those numbers into account. If you deduct those from the number of available visas, you come to a figure which is approximately around 150,000, which will be spilled over to employment based categories. Now I think the visas that will be used up at the consulates will be more than that by the end of this year. So my speculation is it might not be that high. At this point of time, we'll go by what Charlie says and see how things turn out. So that's all I had for this video. If you like this video, please hit the like button and consider subscribing to my channel, and I'll see you in the next one.